to the PRO Media Network. You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
Get ready. It's time for the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Telling you everything you need to know about the Saints, Pelicans, and a whole lot more.
Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports family. I'm Big Q, and this podcast, man, 306. That's right, 306 on the podcast, and we will be previewing. It's going to be part 3. Of course, we did 2 prior previews of this here, but this is the final one, man. Game day edition. We're taking it to you live, Sports Coma live on early Sunday morning. Welcome to you all new and established people on the Sports Coma. Of course, for those who don't know, hardcore talk on the Saints, real deal talk on the Saints. Especially dealing with what we're dealing with. This is a major matchup of significant importance. Saints haven't played a meaningful game in some time now. And now all the toys and games are beside. Now it's time to get down to business. This afternoon, the Saints are welcoming the Philadelphia Eagles, the same Philadelphia Eagles club that we destroyed back in Week 10 by the score 48-7, if memory serves correctly. 3 interceptions in Carson Wentz. He was absolutely horrible. Of course, it's a difference between Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. We all know that. Of course, they go either with either coach, but when it comes, with quarterback, when it comes down to the playoffs, Nick Foles took an underdog Eagle team last year into the championship round and ultimately won a Super Bowl for Philadelphia in some time. It's been a while since they've won one prior to last year. It's been a minute since the Saints won one, by the way. And it's about time, man. It's about time for it to be renewed. Saints have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And in this edition, we'll be talking about that Saints-Eagles matchup. We'll have the topics such as Saints offense versus Eagles defense. We'll go through it. Saints defense versus Eagles O. And the important play of special teams. We'll have an injury report, the final injury report of game day to go over, which is not much of an injury report to pay attention to, but we'll still deliver it today. We'll talk about what the Saints need to be careful of in this matchup, if anything. You know, what they need to be careful of against the Eagles. But the Eagles, anytime you got a defending Super Bowl champion marching in, you have to dethrone them. And the Eagles, I hope the Saints, and I know the Saints are professionals, they're not going to take this team lightly. No doubt about it. It's way too much time has been come across where the Saints have to continually beat that message in their players' head. The coaches have been excellent with that. Sean Payton is an excellent motivator of talent, and he's got a really good imagination. That whole little deal, that whole little production where he brought in the armed guards, the money, the $225,000, and then the Super Bowl trophy was over the top. But it made the point to players that, listen, we all get this here. Plus, ultimately, we get all of this here if you just win 3 games in a row. He ain't said that kindly, by the way, but you know how it goes in the football world, man. But the Saints, they are a team on the cusp of something great here. We know this. It feels like the 2009 season, and let's get it going this afternoon. So we'll get into that. We'll also have the Eagles, what the Saints looking at the concerns for as the Eagles goes. We'll go over that. We'll talk about the wide receivers and the tight ends and what role will the special teams play, because I believe in this matchup the Saints will have a lot to deal with in terms of the special teams. That's going to be something that we have to take account of, because we talk about Saints O, Saints D. The special teams will be of major significance in this matchup. And, of course, we'll play some interviews. We'll hear Coach Payton momentarily chime in with his thoughts on the game. We also have A.J. Klein he'll chime in, and Traquan Smith hear what he has to say in this matchup, because he might be the dark horse in this game in terms of people flying open. You never know with Drew Brees. Whoever's open, he's going to get him the ball. Now, also, we'll have the Sports Coma question today that we'll deliver after Coach Payton's interview, and then we'll read the replies of previous show. And, of course, in the second segment in Sports Coma Live, we'll open up the phones and allow call-in. So if you got question, comments, or whatever, just, state your name and where you're calling from. That sounds like, if you're old New Orleans people from back in the day, it sounds like the old 9 o'clock props call in, state your name and where you're calling from. But anyway, without further ado, we'll get right into it. Eagles, Saints, big deal, going down today, and the wait is finally over. Now, a bit of extra good news, I guess I can say. I'm kind of soured with this whole note because I really wanted to see this team. Cowboys couldn't get it done. Not a surpriser there. They lose 30-22 yesterday night against the Los Angeles Rams. They went up there, and the Rams just ran all over that supposed to be defense that turned the corner. Maybe they should have left Van Der Esch in there and stopped trying to stick Sean Lee in there. They left Van Der Esch in there. They might have had a better performance. But be that as it may, Gurley and C.J. Anderson just completely ran all over them, which means Dallas's playoff run stops yesterday, and we will be facing the Los Angeles Rams, a team that we also beat in the regular season. So the Saints getting these old flip-flop teams. We done knocked them down, and now here they coming back. We got to bat them down again. It's difficult beating the teams like that twice in the same year. That's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be really interesting. But without further ado, before we get to the stats and facts of the game, let's see what Coach Payton had to say about his upcoming game dealing with those same Eagles. I know Coach Payton has something interesting to say. Here you go.
Heading into this game.
How would you evaluate the week of preparation for a guest stand?
Look, it's been good. There's been 2 weeks, really. The first week, last week, with our schedule and what we did, and then obviously this week has been all opponent-driven. So guys are doing well.
How's it seeing Malcolm Jenkins on this stage?
Say it again.
How is it kind of getting prepared to see Malcolm Jenkins again?
Listen, he's a special player to me. Had a big part of what we accomplished his rookie year. He's smart. He's definitely a guy that you see on tape, and you see his leadership. I mean, it jumps off the film, and he's just a real good football player, and a guy that really, hindsight, we shouldn't have let out of the building. But he and Darren both are doing well.
Coach, in the last game, you guys didn't let off the gas pedal, and back in Philly.
No, that's not true. Listen, if you pay attention to the film and you watch the film, it was one of those games where you're playing a real good offense, and late in the game we scored a touchdown, but we were 30-something at that point. So, but, man, we played well. So go ahead.
No, I said back in Philly, weeks throughout this week, they've kind of been using that as motivation. Do you realize that they're going to do that? And what
it's a divisional playoff game. So my question would be, we're all playing hard in these divisional playoff games, right? You going to play harder? All right. Next good question.
There's some new teachers in the locker room this week. Just
new what?
Like new pictures and all that stuff.
What's in there is our team business, not yours.
Coach, how much has their secondary improved on tape from that first
meeting? It has. I think they've been real consistent. Number one, they've minimized the big plays, and they've gone up against some pretty good offenses. I think that, look, there's a period of the season where you can see on film this consistent lineup. I think prior to that, there had been a lot of moving parts, and I think Jim's done a good job of getting that group settled in, and you can see the communication when they're in their dime package. Certainly Malcolm's inside, and they're in their nickel. There's several packages you see. 3 safety look last week to Chicago. So we've got to prepare for all of it, but I think they're playing a lot better.
Sean, does it help to be playing a team that you've already played the season? Or
it feels kind of, I think it feels a little bit like when oftentimes in the playoffs it's not unusual to play a division opponent. So when you play a team, look what happened to us last year relative to Carolina the first game, we'd already played them twice, and then Minnesota the next game, we'd already played them earlier in the year. So I think it happens more often than you think. And now that game seems like it was a long time ago, relative to the season. So that film is important. But, all the games, we've got, all 16 weeks in the playoff. You have all of that on your video screen, cut-ups and everything. And but having played them, certainly for both teams, I'm sure there's a familiarity with personnel that I think is probably most important.
You said after that last game they played more man than you expected.
Yeah, they did. Listen, and over the years, I've always followed Jim and respected the job he does on defense. He's been a great coach in our league, and I just remember the last game, going back and looking at every tape, trying to find cases where maybe a top receiver was getting help and getting doubled, and there have been some examples. And yet in our game, man, it was a ton of man and a ton of double on Mike, and that really forced other players to have to, Kirkwood or Traquan or Dan Arnold, other guys had to make plays. There are times where they were doubling Alvin and doubling Mike literally, and everyone else had kind of a cover zero look. So it forced us to make some adjustments quickly. But that's the fun thing about the games, because there's always some things that we're preparing for in here that we're not going to see Sunday, and then quickly you got to adjust.
Is that a drastic change?
That's Coach Sean Payton breaking down the game. Of course, you heard him getting a little snippet with one of the reporters, and he's asked that same question about the impact of Week 10's 48-7 destruction of the Eagles club over and over again, to the point where they just all downplaying it. I played interviews from a few days ago with Elvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. They're all doing the same thing. They all have the memo, and they're all following the memo to a T. We're not going to give credits to that game, because we can't take nothing more from that game than what they have done. But the Eagles are using it as motivation to come at the Saints. Well, we'll see if it works, because at the end of the day, the Saints just have to play their game, and ultimately they'll end up winning this thing. Now, the Eagles, coming into this one, looking at the injury report, the Saints they don't have much. Bushrod, who was dealing with a hamstring injury, he had full practice last Friday. Of course, this is the official, the last one that they did as of Friday. So he was a full participant last Friday. So Bushrod, Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk. Now Armstead was dealing with a pectoral. He had a full practice, so he's going to play, no doubt about it. Ryan Ramczyk, full practice. He was dealing with a shoulder injury. Alex Okafor and Larry Warford were dealing with knee injuries. They fully practiced, so they're good to go. Andrews Pete was one guy I was concerned about. He was dealing with that hand. Remember, he some kind of way got his hand when he was blocking a defensive lineman last game. Got his hand jammed up in looked like his face mask, and he left the game after that. But he fully practiced, so he'll be good to go. Chris Banjo and Ted Ginn were also dealing with knee issues. They fully practiced. And then the only one, according to the injury report for the Saints, that will not play in this game is Sammy Cobbs, the never-used wide receiver that they picked up off the practice squad. He's officially listed as out for the game. Looking at the Eagles, Michael Bennett, the awkward and throw-it-off defensive lineman, he's listed as questionable, even though he fully practiced Friday, so you expect him to play. Of course, Carson Wentz was ruled out with that back issue. DJ Alexander, who's a linebacker, is listed with a hamstring. Sidney Jones, the big cornerback, is also listed with a hamstring. Both of those guys fully practiced. Jason Peters, the all-pro tackle, is dealing with a quadricep injury. He's listed as questioned. He was limited, but that guy's going to play. He's going to definitely play. Then, of course, Golden Tate had that knee injury that he occurred against the Bears. He fully practiced, so he's good to go. Mike Wallace, who they haven't seen since I think it was week 2 of the season, he was limited, but his speed is going to be really imperative if he can go. He's listed as questionable, even though he was limited. Elshon Jeffries was dealing with a rib injury. He was listed as limited in practice. And then, of course, Shelton Gibson, who is a wide receiver, is listed as questionable. So these guys, I believe, will definitely play. Some of their more core guys will definitely get in there and try to make something happen. No doubt about it. This is the NFC Divisional round. 1 game from the NFC Championship game. 2 games from once you get this game over with, 2 games from the Super Bowl, you right at the door. You right at the door here. And then injuries play a major part in this whole deal. The fact that the matter that the Saints offensive line, I keep saying it over and over again, they keep talking about the Eagles defensive line and how good the Eagles defensive line. Let me tell you something. The Saints offensive line have stood the test of time against the best defensive lines this year. They're better tested. They're the best 5 linemen running and blocking the most balanced line in pro football. I said over and over again, people not respecting it until we shut these teams down. We did it against the Rams, who had a fierce front, who just gave Dallas all kind of problems yesterday. That won't happen against with Drew Brees. They're going to stand up there. They will make sure lanes are open for the running game. They'll make sure they keep Drew clean. They've been doing that for some times now. Now, before we go into our next topic and get some more statistics in this thing, we're going to bring up A.J. Klein. We know A.J. Klein is a guy that has been big for the Saints. You know, a lot of people early on in the season thought A.J. wouldn't represent much for the Saints, being that they brought in Demario Davis, who came in and performed well. But A.J. Klein is a man that has turned it up. I mean, I have to be honest with you. A lot of people said A.J. Klein wouldn't make it, and he will definitely be a guy that'll we have to trade a cut. Remember the trade scenarios, sending him to Buffalo? Remember that nonsense? And what did he do? Just keep playing ball. The Saints kept him, and look where he's are now. So let's see what A.J. Klein had to say about
They
the
obviously
Saints'
have a different element offensively now with Darren Sproles playing in this game. How much does that change what they do offensively?
I think they still stick to who they are and what they want to accomplish, but Sproles definitely brings a different dynamic to the game, whether he's in the run situation, screens, getting out in space with one-on-ones, and he makes people miss. He creates big plays for them.
When you're dealing with a quarterback like Foles, who gets rid of it as quickly as he does, what kind of problems does that present defensively?
Well, I think for him, getting the ball out of his hand quick, he avoids a lot of pressure. It's hard to get pressure on him, and he does a great job of avoiding sacks and taking sacks. So for us, we just have to try to take him out of his rhythm. Don't let him get into a rhythm early with these completions, and try to force some turnovers.
I know it's difficult to replicate, obviously, what you did the first time, but why was that plan so successful, and how much of that plan can you take into a game a couple of months later?
Well, I think first off, we started fast as a defense. I think we had a 3-and-out to start the game, or 5-and-out, something like that. And then the second drive came back. I think it was the 8th or 9th play of the game. Marshawn had an interception down the middle of the field. Anytime we can create a turnover early in the game, give the offense the ball back in plus territory, I mean, Drew and these guys are going to go down and score. So for us, it's starting fast and executing our game plan.
The 2 tight ends they have with Ertz and Goddard, what type of matchup problems can those guys create down the field?
Well, because they're more wide receivers than they are tight ends. They're great in space. They create separation at the top of routes. They're both have great hands, and obviously Ertz broke all these records this year for tight ends and completions or receptions. I'm sorry. So for us, it's to find a favorable matchup and try to take him out of the game because he's a big part of their offense, both of them.
And you guys obviously made a lot of moves, at linebacker, particularly with Demario. I mean, his coverage skills. How impressed with those have you been with him all season?
I think from top to bottom, Demario's he's a dynamic player. He plays every position that the coaches ask him to do, and he excels at every single position. Definitely a guy and a teammate that I think he got snubbed out of the Pro Bowl. I think his production and what he means to this defense is huge. So anytime he's in a matchup, I look for him to win because I know he can.
I know the team goals and aspirations.
That's interesting comments made by A.J. Klein talking about the Saints linebacker matchups against guys like Zach Ertz. And he's absolutely right. They did snub Demario Davis. I mean, imagine this team without Demario's contribution. He played every snap, And I always beat the block for Demario Davis because I know how important he is to the success of the Saints defense. He's an excellent coverage linebacker. He also plays the run extremely well. Very balanced linebacker. He can play all 3 positions. He's really covered up for some of the weaknesses that the team have. We also have Alex Anzalone running in there playing well. But those guys play excellent together. They're just excellent, interchangeable. But you have to have coverage linebackers. That will kill the Saints many years in the defense, that we just didn't have the athleticism in the linebacking core prior to some of these men getting here. to guard against tight ends. And if you're going to play in the NFC South, it's littered with really good, solid, athletic tight ends. I don't have to go over the list, but you know that when you play in the NFC South, you're going to play against very, very good tight ends because they use them as well, athletic tight ends. But the reality at the end of the day is you have to have solid linebackers that's capable of covering up guys like this. And you look at the line, what he's talking about, the record, Zach Ertz, 116 catches. He was targeted 156 times. He caught 116 of them for 1,163 yards, 8 touchdowns. I mean, that's really big. Outside of him, you also have Dallas Goedert, who was a guy that they drafted to fulfill that 2 tight end set so they can use those both. Both those guys are what I would call or consider balanced tight ends. They can block and catch equally well. So when you're facing guys like that, on the line, it's a lot of different things that the Eagles offense could do because they're not working with much of a running game here, to be quite honest with you. They're going to stick it in to try to make you honest, but at the end of the day, they're going to win the game throwing the ball, trying to throw the ball against the Saints defense. As Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, the guy you got to pay attention to if you're the Saints defense. And it's, of course, part of the segment with Saints defense versus Eagles offense and some of the breakdowns we talk about. Alshon Jeffrey is another guy that you got to watch out for. If there was concerns listed in the Eagles offense, it has to be Alshon Jeffrey, right? He has 65 catches, was targeted 92 times, 843 yards, 6 touchdowns on the year for him with 65 catches and 843 yards. Nelson Agholor, who's the other little guy they have, 64 catches for him as well. He finished with 736 yards on the year with 4 touchdowns. So that's pretty good. 116 catches total by your tight end. Then you have 2 wide receivers with 60-plus catches in Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Agholor. Now, we know Alshon is their go-to guy as far as wide receivers goes. And they known to use other guys. Now, remember, they just got Tate there. Golden Tate's another guy they just brought in there. He just has 30 catches on the year. He's targeted 28 times, 300 yards total with a touchdown. But Golden Tate is a guy that the Saints have to watch out for. Got to watch out for Golden Tate. And I don't know who's going to be sticking Golden Tate on, whether it be P.J. Williams or Eli, but wherever P.J. is located at, best believe that they're going to go to him. I know that, and they know it. If P.J. Williams is out there on the field and he's guarding either Golden Tate or Nelson Agholor, whoever it is, Nick Foles is going to pay attention to him. We all know that. We know who's the weak link in the defense, and so do they. That's the bottom line, and so do they. You know why? Because they're not blind, and they pay attention to tape like we pay attention to tape. But PJ is going to have to play one of his better games. He's just going to have to. There's no mistake in that. He has to step up and play some football this time around. This is a divisional matchup. But I have faith in the Saints defense that they'll cover up any weaknesses, force this team to be one-dimensional, which we know they're going to try to run. But at the end of the day, Sproles is definitely somebody you got to pay attention out of the backfield, those screens, and Nelson Smallwood, Wendell Smallwood, and then you have Adams, who was their back that led the team in rushing this year, kind of a bruiser. They give the ball. I expect them to utilize him a little bit more in this game because they did have some success running with him until the Saints ran up the score, and then they had to abandon the running game. But anyway, when we come back on the other side of the break, we have another interview to play by Traquan Smith. We also have more discussion and breakdown on this game. We also have the Sports Coma question of the day that we'll give you and the replies from the previous question. And, of course, we'll open up the lines in the second segment. All that on the other side of the break. Stay with us. You're listening to the Sports Coma live.
I'm a Saints and Pelicans fan, so the only podcast I can get my fix is the Sports Coma with Big Q. The guy's intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Embrace Pet Insurance is more than just pet insurance. Embrace Pet Insurance promises to provide genuine support and certainty when your pet needed the most. With personalized accident and illness policies, compassionate customer care, 24/7 access to veterinary professionals, flexible wellness plans, timely claims processing, and online customer portals, their values is what makes them Embrace. So, when selecting a pet insurance company as a partner in your pet's care, you deserve a company that has your pet's best interests at heart. Get top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Up to 90% back on bills at any vet, total protection, pet insurance and wellness, and dependable claims payments. Get the top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Go to EmbracePetInsurance.com. That's EmbracePetInsurance.com. Check the link in the description section below.
Are you a boxing fan? Check out Ring Kings Boxing only on the PRO Media Network.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Hit the link below and rep the black and gold today. Who that?
Do you need a domain name? How about a host for your website that can work with WordPress? Try Namecheap.com. They make registering, hosting, and managing domain names for yourself or others easy and affordable because the internet needs people. Namecheap is an ICANN accredited domain register and technology company founded in 2000. It's one of the fastest growing American companies according to the 2018 Inc. 5000, celebrating nearly 2 decades of providing unparalleled levels of service, security, and support. Namecheap has been steadfast in customer satisfaction with over 10 million domains under management. Namecheap is among the top domain registrars and web providers in the world. They offer a full selection of popular and unique domains along with fully featured hosting packages, SSL security certificates, WhoisGuard privacy protections, and more, all at the lowest prices in the industry. So if you need a domain name or hosting or anything else, think Namecheap.com. That's right, Namecheap.com. Check the description section below for link.
Follow the Sports Coma on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Welcome back to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. Part 3 of the Saints versus Eagles Divisional playoff matchup in the Dome. 3 o'clock this afternoon, man. It's going down in a major way in the Dome, man. And in this one, man, we got coming back, man. I'm just thinking about the Sports Coma question of the day, which is, which Eagles player concerns you? You know, answer that. Put that in the comment section, or let's reach it out, talk about it over the lines, man. Y'all can call in 504-475-4482. That's 504-475-4482. 504-475-4482. The line's open. Ready to talk to you and Yearns? But before we get into the rest of the show, Sports Coma question of the day, which is, which player of the Eagles concerns you? My call is Nick Foles, quarterback at the top of the head of the snake. Is what I'm thinking about. Got to do something with that guy. Got to get in his face, bet the ball down, sack him, knock him around. I don't care how accurate he is with pressure in his face. I don't know too many quarterbacks that you sack 4 or 5 times and you're constantly in their face that you don't rattle them. I don't care who they are. But the lines are open, 504-475-4482. Live, comment, question, concerns, answer the Sports Coma question today, whatever it is. Give us a call in. Here go Traquan Smith giving his thoughts on the upcoming matchup.
Definitely more excited, but also, kind of nervous. At this point, we're in the playoffs, and, it's single game elimination. So as a rookie, I feel like I got to be more focused, kind of like I'm starting over, like I'm new to it. And because, you look around the locker room and everybody else is very serious and laser focused, I don't want to be that guy that look like I'm not focused when I am. So, it's a lot of attention to details and making sure, all the coaches and all my players know I'm focused and ready for the game.
I think Drew has always said if you're not nervous, then there's a problem. There's something wrong.
Well, I'm definitely nervous, so, it's not a problem here.
The offense maybe didn't hit on the cylinders you guys wanted to, maybe in December. Do you feel like maybe you've had a chance to reset, refresh, and it'll kind of return to what it was, or how do you view it?
Yeah, the past couple of games, the offense wasn't really rolling. We won a few games, but, we wasn't rolling how we wanted to, like, beginning of the season. And this bye week gave us a chance, to fine-tune some things and get everything going ready for Sunday.
Tre'Quan, Coach Payton said he wanted to get you a little bit more involved in the offense now later in the season. Have there been any specific things that you've noticed where you guys are looking to get you a little bit more involved? Or?
Yeah, I definitely have a bigger role in this game, more plays coming. With Ted being back, he being a veteran, he's going to have plays as well. But Coach Sean Payton did this week did a very good job, keeping me in the role this week.
What's it like to play in that Superdome when it's rocking the way it can rock?
Oh, man, you just feel it, like the excitement from the crowd and the excitement from your teammates. That's the best place I've played ever. Like the crowd noise, it's just amazing. You look on the big screen and the crowd's going crazy. I love these fans here. I love playing here. You just you can feel it through your body.
That's Tre'Quan Smith chiming in with his thoughts on the upcoming matchup. Tre'Quan says he's nervous, man. He say he's nervous. He's a rookie for his first time playing in the divisional round of the playoffs, and nerves are definitely a sign that you are alive. But as soon as that whistle sound and the Saints make a few plays, those nerves kind of die down as the main game is upon us. But Tre'Quan might be called upon to perform some great feats in this matchup, man. He might just as well do it. He did it before. So I mean, I know they're not game planning for him, but that's just what Sean Payton might do. He do one of those little sneak attacks and ultimately help Tre'Quan Smith get involved in the play. I'm expecting some of these players that they're not game planning for. You look at Mike Thomas, you look at Elvin Kamara. Of course, they'll be instrumental in whatever the Saints are going to do. Now, let's go back to the Saints O versus the Eagles defense. The Eagles had so many injuries that occurred. They had a few guys that kind of stepped up on the back end to make things happen on the defense. You had Ronald Darby and all these guys. They ultimately got injured, so they had to rely on other players. Of course, Sidney Jones was one of the high picks that they pick up. You got Avonte Maddox, who's a very interesting player. Haloti Ngata is not there. So, I mean, it's a few things that this team without the injuries are formidable already. But all these injuries that they're dealing with, it's going to be interesting. So, in the back, the secondary has to be, I don't care what they look like against the Chicago Bears. I don't think they attack that secondary enough. If you want to consider, if you say, well, what's the strength of their defense, it most certainly is not the secondary. I mean, all of us know that. You got that many young players out there. I don't care how well he played. The guy played well. But these are still rookie players. They're still unexperienced players. So we have to attack them. You look at their front seven, they have a pretty decent front seven. They really do. But we all know this, and Sean Payton knows he's going to attack that secondary, And I like my odds of Mike Thomas up against Avonte Maddox or whoever Sidney Jones or whoever these guys are. No disrespect to none of them. But it's just levels to this stuff. And Mike Thomas is not going to be held down by these guys. He's going to play his game like he does. If you like what happened with Marcus Peters against the Rams, remember that affair? He showed everybody Marcus Peters is not as good as people anticipated he was. Seriously. I mean, he just dogged Peters all game long. And I expect something similar to these young guys, like the guy from Dallas who was holding them all game and they refused to make the calls. That won't happen in the Superdome. They're going to get those calls in the Superdome. That's because that's the only way to stop Mike Thomas and the Saints defense is by holding them. But we'll see what goes down. It's going to be interesting. But anyway, call in number 504-475-4482, 504-475-4482. You can feel free to chime in. The phones are open right now to hear your calls and comments. Now, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles is a team that's coming off of a winning streak since Nick Foles took over the team. They've won a series of games. I think it was 5 in a row so far. I have to look at their schedule and make sure. But if I'm wrong, just correct me. I think they won 5 in a row. I'm just going to say that. Excuse me, 4 in a row. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what's going on with this Philadelphia team. And the Eagles, what the Saints going to do here? The special teams is another thing we talked about, dealing with this whole deal with the Saints. And, of course, our offense did kind of kill off a bit. It did teeter off, but the defense picked it up. And you know what? It's about time the defense picked it up. The defense carried the game for many of these stretches while the Saints offense struggled until we finally hit that balance. But a lot of that was because they were doubling down on Mike Thomas and they were doing some stuff here. But Ted Ginn Jr. came back and opened all that up. You can no longer do that. You can no longer leave Ted Ginn say, okay, we're going to double down on Mike and let Ted beat us. You got Elvin Kamara running around back there. They like to throw the tight ends in. We're going to throw one of somebody, whether it's a wide receiver, whether it's a tight end, somebody's going to get in there and have a pretty decent game. Now, of course, they've won 4 in a row since the Dallas matchup. According to what we have here, they lost to Dallas in overtime by 6 back on the 9th of December, and then they willed off 4 straight games, which is they beat the Rams, Houston, Washington, and Chicago in the playoffs. Then, of course, you have the Saints, who would have been 4 games in a row despite that stupid garbage time loss to the Carolina Panthers 33-14. That was really pathetic and sad, and hopefully that they don't come into this matchup playing like that, because that was absolutely horrible. But this is the professionalism of the team, Drew Brees, and what this team's going to bring to play and how they're going to play. Let's hope we know Drew Brees is going to come out and do his thing. We know the offensive line will protect him. I'm not giving no credit, no bad marks to Bennett or Benny and all the rest of those guys on the defensive line. But the Saints offensive line, to me, they're going to keep him upright. They're going to open up the lanes for Mark and Elvin to run through. They're going to and Drew Brees is going to make the correct throws. Mike Thomas is ready for this. He's ready for this at a high level. Ted Ginn Jr. has been here and done that before. Ben Watson's been here and done that before. So you rely heavily on some of these guys who's been there before, that's been in the playoff environment, that's getting these young guys ready to play. Same thing on defense, same thing on special teams. We ain't going to expect no bunky kicks off to the upright when we do kick the ball, because I think it's going to be one of those situations where the Saints might have to use their special teams. No doubt about it. If it comes down to that, when we have one of those games and one of those battles between these two teams, special teams could play a part. And we're going to have old man Adam Vinatieri missing 23-yard field goals and extra points. None of that's going to occur. Will Lutz knows what he's doing. He's going to make things happen in pressure situations. So with Thomas Morstead, the only issue is the kick return, punt return game, which we need to get Taysom Hill involved in there. Maybe get I don't know if they'll throw Elvin Kamara or Teddy Ginn Jr. I wouldn't put him in there because he just came off injury. So Tommy Lee, Jerry Lewis might be a guy that the Saints call upon to get something done. Sports Coma question of the day: which Eagle players concern you the most? Which player? Is it my pick is Nick Foles? You might have Avonte Maddox. You might have Darren Sproles. You might have Malcolm Jenkins. Who do you think? Which one concerns you the most in this matchup coming up? Sports Coma question of the day. 504-475-4482 is the live number where you can feel free to call in. 504-475-4482. You can feel free to call in. Remember, this show posts to Spreaker. Is live through Spreaker. When it finishes, it automatically posts to YouTube and other social medias concepts. So if you call when the show is not live, simply just leave a message and we'll get back to you coming up soon. So listen, outside of that, we talk about what the Saints need to be careful about. Nick Foles, the young secondary. I say attack the young secondary. I don't give a damn what they're talking about. Oh, they so spectacular. Oh, they so this, that, and the third. What do we need to be mindful of? Eagles wide receivers, I named them. Agnor Nelson, this other cat, You got Mike Wallace, who's from down here, who's a speedster. He was hurt since the second week. He's coming back. So even if he can catch a few plays to kind of open up things, he adds a different dimension. Golden Tate's another guy that we have to be mindful of. Darren Sproles is lurking around in there. They don't have much of a running game, but they're going to try to run the ball, whether it's reverses, little dive plays. They're going to get real cutesy with it. Remember what they did against Chicago. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what they do. But we got the athletic linebackers smart enough to cover up guys like Dallas Goedert and their stud, Zach Ertz, who's a major player in this situation. You heard the interviews from the guys and the Sports Coma question of the day. Of course, now is the segment where we get into the fact that we're going to start naming the Saints. Let's go. You know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Saints statistics going into this matchup. Now, of course, we talk about statistics, but like we said before, some of these statistics will lie to you. Like the fact that the Saints coming into this thing, they have 31.5 points a game. That's good for third in the NFL. That's amazing to me that they actually have two more teams that's scoring more than 31 points a game. That's really awesome because usually that's enough to get you number one in the NFL. Saints are third in that position. Points against, they're ranked 14th. That's really deceptive. If you break down the last 11 matchups, the Saints rank in the top 10 in every statistical indicator. Passing, the Saints are average about 152.5 yards a game. That's good for 12th in the NFL. And they rush about 126, might as well say 127 a game, which is good for 6th in the NFL, which is awesome. Usually it means like the Saints passing 252 outside the top 10, but their rushing is top 6. That's really, think about that. Usually the Saints passing offense is in the top 5, the top 10 every year. This time around, they ranked as 12th and 6th with the pass. So that's something special to behold too, if you think about it, because usually that doesn't happen. But that's credit to Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill and Mark Ingram, what those guys were able to do, in this situation to keep that balance. So the Saints are more dangerous, statistically speaking, running the ball than they are passing, even though we know they're a passing team. So that says a lot. What do the Eagles look like statistical? 267 yards per game. 267 yards per game. That's good for 7th in the NFL. That's passing the ball. So they 267. That's good for 7th. They're rushing at about 98 yards a game. That's good for about 28th in the NFL. So they're not really good at running the ball, but they still seem to get it done because they have short passes and all this other stuff that's going on. Now, points for, averaging about 23 points per game. That's 18th in the NFL. And, of course, they're giving up about 22 points a game, which is 12th in the NFL. So 12th in the NFL versus 12th in the NFL versus defense is something that's is that we are doing what we have to do in terms of the defense to kind of get things together. So 23 points a game, that's 18th in the NFL. 22 points given up, that's 12th in the NFL as far as the defense is concerned. And that's something that we need to pay attention to, because at the end of the day, the Saints are going to test this defense, and we're going to see what happens here. Now, let's move on to the comment section. We talk about the Sports Coma question of the day, which we asked the question the last time around, which was, let me see if I remember this. The question is, what will be the outcome of this matchup? What will be the score? So who will win? And we all know most of the Saints say who will win. And we also know what some of them said about the score. What would the score be? So Marvin Norman chimed in. What's up, Marvin? Marvin said 38-17, the Saints get it done in a major capacity against the Eagles. 38-17. I like that score, Marvin. Pretty good, man. That means the Saints went in there and took care of business and just took it out of the Eagles. And that's a pretty nice score. I like that score, 38-17. Appreciate it, Marvin. Verlin Casey chiming in. What's up, Verlin? He says 38-14. So we got Marvin saying 38-17. Verlin saying 38-14. So 38-17 from Marvin, and Verlin says 38-14. Saints, of course, as long as they rotate Armstead in and out, keeping him healthy as possible, the run game plus Teddy G should open up the offense. Big ups, Big Q. What that? True that. We got the advantage with the size of our wide receivers. Big ups to you, Verlin. Thanks for the comment, my man. Appreciate you listening, brother. You're absolutely wholesale right in this here thing. We do have the bigger wide receivers. They have an inexperienced secondary, which we need to attack. They don't have much of a running game, which we stop your running game anyway. We know how you're going to win the game. It won't be because you will run the ball. It'll be because you're going to try to pass using your tight ends and wide receivers. And watch out for Golden Tate. Go back to that. Alshon Jeffrey, Golden Tate, Zach Ertz. Watch those guys. And, of course, Agnar, and then you slip Mike Wallace in there. So they're anticipating us not to pay attention to one of these cats. We got them, though. Quack Jones, what's up, Quack? He says 38-24 Saints. That sounds like a really, really good battle there between the two teams right there. And he said close game until halftime. Yeah, until they figure out each other. And I can see that happening because this team going to make adjustments coming into this game. The Saints are going to still try to play their game. But it's interesting, to see what this team is going to do. We know they're going to try to run the ball, to try to establish some stuff. At the end of the day, it's got to be the passing. They won't beat us with the run. They're going to try to run it to keep us honest. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the passing, going to the tight end. They've been going to the tight end all season long and using their wide receivers, no doubt about it. Soldier for God chimes in. What's up, peeps? He says, it's going to be a good game. 35-20 Eagles. Is not going to be a blowout. They're coming with some heart this game. Saints still going to win. Who that? No doubt about it. Listen, if y'all watch, I know y'all watched the Saturday's playoff games. You watch Dallas lose to the Rams. You watch Kansas City take care of business with no problem against Andrew Luck and the Colts. You're going to watch in an hour or so, you're going to watch Tom Brady take care of business against the Chargers. And then you're going to watch the Saints beat the Eagles. Why? Because home field advantage is major league importance. That's why teams get up to play and do what they do during the regular season. We can't overstipulate that. If you know anything about football, you know how important home field advantage is in every aspect of the game, especially in the playoffs. This is around the time where if you're at home, the home team is going to win the majority of these games. They are, because it's extremely difficult for a team to go into somebody else's building during the playoffs and beat them, because the environment is ratcheted up 4 or 5-fold, and that's what kind of game, that's what you're dealing with. That is exactly what you're dealing with. So to your point, I say absolutely. The Saints, all of the playoff teams this week are going to win. You're going to see the first two did it, and then you'll see the Patriots take care of the Chargers. Home field advantage is super important during the playoffs. Everything ratcheted up 2-fold. Everything gets lauded 2-fold. And it's extremely difficult. Not saying it can't be done, but it's extremely difficult to beat a team like that in their building during a divisional round. And simply in anything from divisional round going up, it's going to be extremely hard. So, I mean, that's some of the comments that was read by that I'm reading now. It's going to be interesting, man, to just see, period, what this team is going to bring up, because it's crazy. I hear all the talk. I hear all the commentators. I hear all those people talking all that foolishness about what's going to happen with the Eagles, about what they're going to come here and they're going to get some revenge against the New Orleans Saints, all that kind of nonsense. At the end of the day, talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. Either you're going to handle business with all this talking, you have more of a business approach like Peyton is doing. It's like he's not even bantering back and forth, because while we're going to banter with you and we destroyed you, the worst way anybody can destroy a team, I'm not going to talk mess to you. I know I have the mental advantage over you, so I'm just going to hold my moral high ground and my mental advantage over you. And when you come down to my building, we're going to show you why we did what we did to you in week 10, and we're going to do it to you again. Probably won't be 48-7 because they laid down in that matchup, but this time around it'll be a game. And ultimately, it'll be a matchup, the Saints and the Rams. So that's something we got to watch out too. So all that to my black and gold people, the Sports Coma family. Thank y'all for joining us today on the Sports Coma Live edition. Remember, the call-in number is 504-475-4482. For the recap later on this afternoon, call in, chime in with your thoughts. Outside of that, thank you for joining us for the show. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/the PRO Media Network and make a donation. Join up our social media. Also support our sponsors. Those links are in the description below. So from me and the entire crew here at the Sports Coma Live, episode 306, we'll see you this afternoon. Peace.
Perfect.
Forget ESPN or Fox. Get straight sports talk from the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Thank you for listening to the Pro Media Network, who provides hours and hours of free edutainment to you and yours. If you are benefiting positively from our content, please donate to help us grow our platform by going to www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. That's www.patreon.com/the Pro Media Network, and support the true independent artists.
Are you a Pelicans fan? Check out the Pelican postgame report on the PRO Media Network.
The Klein's family has been getting people to go nuts for old nuts since 1995. As legends have it, a number of the Klein's friends who heard the idea said you can go nuts trying to name a store like that. In the excitement, the Kleins thought their friends said old nuts instead of go nuts and proceeded to throw caution to the wind. Old Nuts has over 2,000 items, bulk and wholesale prices of a whole lot of your favorite fruits, nuts, and confections, a selection of gift baskets for any budget, any occasion, and provides one of the best and impressively rated shopping experiences on the web. Fact is, between their selection, service, speed, or their online presence in the virtual mirror retail experience, they have developed an enviable client base that's comprised of personal and professional customers who count on their remarkable range of gift baskets. Think of gift basket, think about Old Nuts. Check them out, oldnuts.com. Check the link in the description section below. Go to newfrog.com for all of your electronic gadget needs. Fast becoming #1 online seller of cell phone and accessories, consumer electronics, automobiles and motorcycles, home and garden items, 5D diamond painting crafts, electrical and tool supplies, computer and networking supplies, lights and lighting supplies, sports and travel items, toys and hobby supplies, apparel and accessory, mother and kid items, health and beauty items, and much, much more. Newfrog.com has up to 70% off on some products, and you can check out their weekly promotions for all the best deals. Remember, when thinking online electronics and gadgets, think New Frog. Newfrog.com. Check the link in the description section below. Tea is your escape. It's your opportunity to create a moment for stillness, for reflection, for yourself. It's your connection to a world of senses, flavors both exotic and familiar, energizing and relaxing. It's your retreat from an increasingly turbulent world. It's the perfect paradox of simplicity and complexity. Teabox.com connects tea to people, uniting the richest flavors of the finest teas with the curious, the cultivated, and the adventurous all over the world. The freshest tea you've ever tasted, from crop to cup. There's simply no simpler way to experience the wonderful complexity of tea. Teabox, packing up the freshness. Tea thrives on freshness, and so do they. Teabox temperature and humidity control facility ensure that tea is maintained. The teas themselves go into oblique bags with aluminum layers that protect them from excess moisture and light. With Teabox, shopping for fresh, loose leaf tea is easy because you make an informed purchase. You know exactly where your tea is coming from. So for the freshest teas in the world, check out Teabox.com. That's right, Teabox.com. Check the link in the description section below.
In today's world, children are bombarded with negativity on television, online, and at school. Our kids need to have a positive outlook on life and the world around them. I want to share with you a valuable resource you can use to bring positivity into your child's life. It's the new book, 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image, from author and dad, G.J. Barabino. This is a simple guide loaded with wonderful and inspirational affirmations designed to uplift young people's spirits. This positive and powerful children affirmational is chock full and loaded with wonderful inspirational sayings that will lift your child's self-image to whole new levels through the awesome power of spoken word. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image from author and dad G.J. Barabino. Available on Amazon. Order a copy for yourself, your child's teachers, or anyone you know with children. 101 Powerful Children Affirmations, a guide to positive child self-image. Order your copy today.
Vapor DNA is the absolute premier online vape store, offering an industry-leading selection of e-cigarettes, e-liquids, and accessories. Our friendly and knowledgeable customer service team is always ready to provide the best customer service experience to ensure you find what you're looking for. We guarantee our vaping gear shop products to be 100% genuine and the lowest price. We are so confident in our selection and our customer service. We will offer our customers a 45-day refund policy. That's right, a 45-day refund policy. We are proud of this offer for 3 simple reasons: quality, selection, and price. And that is the reason you should choose Vapor DNA for all your vaping needs. That's www.vapordna.com. Again, that's www.vapordna.com.
What's up, Sports World? The PRO Media Network is on a mission to reach 10,000 subscribers. So besides our regular programs like the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, the Pelican Post Game Report, Rapid Fire TSC, and others, we will be expanding out and offering other content like movie, anime, and gaming reviews for your entertainment. So if you enjoy our content, please donate at our Patreon page. Also subscribe, comment, and share. And help the PRO Media Network reach 10,000 subs. Peace.